Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome. Hello, everybody. We are officially live. Okay. This is my first time going live, so bear with me a minute here. We're going to go ahead and get the party started. Thank you, ladies, for being here. I think we are also live on Instagram. Okay. Girls not nervous. No, I'm not. Okay. We go, getting started. Welcome, everyone. I see some familiar faces and some brand new people. Okay, we are officially live. Oh my gosh, yay! Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Ready to talk about some probate real estate? So bear with me a minute here.
Excited.
Bit of an echo. Is anybody else hearing an echo besides me? Thank you, ladies, for being
I
here.
hear an echo.
Maybe I should get off of, you hear an echo?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay, hold on, girls. Maybe this will work. Okay, sorry about that. Technical difficulties, your first time going live in your lifetime. Okay, I think we're live. I think we're live. Are we live on YouTube, you think? Okay. All right. We're live here. So we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you guys so much for being here. A couple of people that are not familiar with me, you may have come across me on YouTube. You may have come across me on Instagram. Now with the beautiful World Wide Web, it's very easy for us to get connected. But I'll share a little bit about myself so you kind of get an idea of who I am and where I come from. So I do probate real estate in the state of Florida. I've been a traditional real estate agent actually since I was 18 years old, if anybody can believe it. And we have did sold traditional houses most of my life. And I got my first probate deal. And when I got my first probate deal, I instantly fell in love. Most realtors maybe would run away, would run for the hills. There's a lot of challenges when it could come to probate. And my first one was definitely a doozy. But what it did for me is it actually gave me a lot of purpose. I was able to go ahead and help a family overcome their problems. As of now, I've completed over 100 probate real estate transactions in the state of Florida. Okay. And Florida happens to be a difficult than most markets to be able to go ahead and sell an inherited property. So we have successfully tackled many probates. I'm still working probates to this day. I'm active in production. So I'm not a, probate guru from the 70s. We're still actively working with families all throughout the state of Florida. And so it gives me quite the honor to be able to come with you guys and share the knowledge that I found. So today we're really going to talk about what is the number one reason, what is the number one mistake that realtors are making in not being able to close these probate deals. Okay. So I hear realtors telling me all the time, I want to get into probate, I want to get into probate. But what they don't understand is that some of the basics around probate and how really, if you don't know what you're doing, you could be making a huge mistake. And a lot of realtors have found that. And so they just shy away from it. They just say, I'm not going to do probate real estate because it's too difficult. There's too many moving parts and I don't understand it. Okay. So today we're going to break down what is that number one mistake that is keeping realtors from closing probate deals. And I want to encourage you to give me some questions. Okay. So if you guys have questions about probate, drop it in the comment. We're going to do this live. The idea of this is that we can give you some real deal help from real deal talk. Okay. So as I'm talking, go ahead and drop a comment in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Have you done probates before? Are you just peeking into the industry, or have you done probate realty? I see some people here on Instagram. Hi. This is so crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this. Okay. So Let's go ahead and just start off with some basics as we get started, okay? So for anybody here that's maybe like, what exactly is probate real estate? Well, probate is basically the legal term that is required for a deceased person's asset to transfer to their beneficiaries, okay? So when somebody passes away, the real estate, their bank accounts, their cars, their 401ks, if there was not a beneficiary designated or they did not set up a trust, guess what's happening? They're going to probate. It's a big misconception in the world that if we have a will that we don't have to go to probate. If you have a will, you're going to probate, okay? So probate is something that's happening nationwide. In fact, I'll go as far to say global, okay? Because death is a normal part of life, right, guys? Everybody is gonna die. As of now, there's no immortality. This life will end. We will expire at some point. And for most people, speaking about the real estate side of things, most people live in houses. When you talk to older people, they don't want to go into a nursing home. They want to die at their houses, right? And so probate and real estate is a lot of opportunity, okay? But what else is probate? So probate is a legal court process, right? So it's, you have to get an attorney involved, you got to file petitions, there's a creditor period, there's statutory timelines that you have to process through when a family is going through probate. They're not just dealing with the house. So us as realtors, we're always thinking about the house side of things, but there's a lot of other moving parts in probate besides just the real estate. Another really key point about probate real estate is that all the people that are involved, okay? So you not only have an executor or a personal representative, but you're also going to have all the heirs from the estate, okay? And as I stand here with you today, I am working on my biggest case as of yet with 23 beneficiaries. Yes, you heard me right. 23, okay? So with estates are all different sizes. How many kids did a person have? How many grandchildren, right? It just keeps going down the lineage. So when you have all these beneficiaries, you have an executor, you have a personal representative, and then of course you have an attorney, right? An attorney's in that process, kind of moving things forward for everybody. Now, another thing about probate real estate for the realtor side of things is it's a lot of less competition. Most of this market is dominated by investors, okay? So when I first got into probate, when I really I got my first probate deal on a referral, never heard of probate in my life. I didn't even know what probate was. And she said, I need you to help me, sell my dad's house. And, his girlfriend is living in there. She won't give us access to the house. And I was like, what? This is crazy. But that was the only asset that the family had to be able to sell and get their inheritance from their dad, right? And so as I started getting into it, I mainly worked with investors. And investors, well, for me, it was pretty cool because it was like a buy one, get one free, right? They bought the real estate, then they fixed it up, and then they sold it. So I got two deals out of one. But I'll get more into my story in a little bit. But really, I got into where I realized that these are families that we're working with, right? It's easy to work on the investor side and just talk about the great deals that we're making and all the money that we're making off of this deal, but you're making it off the back of a family that personally, when I pass away, I want my family to get as much money as possible, right? Not as little as possible. And so we'll get more into that. So what are some of the big differences of probate, right? When realtors are, my experience when I got into it, again, I knew nothing about probate real estate. I only knew traditional sales. So what do you do in traditional sales is, well, you have one decision maker, maybe two, right? Husband and wife, maybe just one. In probate, especially in Florida, right? In order for you to be able to sell the primary residence of the decedent, all the beneficiaries have to agree. all the beneficiaries have to sign the closing, right? So it's a lot different managing all those different people instead of just, one husband and wife decision maker. The obvious, the court timelines, traditional real estate, we don't have court timelines. There is no legal requirements, right? And with probate, what's really different, and personally, this is the part that I love about it, is that it's not a sales pitch, okay? So, being a realtor for a long time, trust me, I've done it all. I've done expireds, I've done for sale by owners, I've cold called. I mean, I've done it all, right? And I'm a sales girl, I'm not gonna lie, right? I've always been in sales, I've always had a sales job. So I understand what it is to sell things. And a lot of times in those types of real estate sales, you've got to be aggressive. It's very competitive. I remember being at a seller's house until 10 p.m. with sweat dripping down my back and, trying to find their, hesitation and why won't they move forward, right? In probate, it's totally different. It's all led with education. It's all led with guidance, okay? And that's what the families need. And that's what I love. I love educating. I love sharing with people, this is the process, this is how it works. A lot of times I'll hear from executors, they'll tell me, oh my gosh, you've shared with me more about this than even my own attorney did, right? So just being that voice that they need education during this process, they really don't need a sales pitch. They don't need, some crafty salesperson to talk them into something, right? And the other huge, huge, huge difference with probate is the property conditions. Okay, and this is a big one because in probate, okay, I'll start with the traditional, right? If you're in traditional sales, you know the drill. You have your listing appointment. When the family comes and invites you over, the candles are lit and the cleaners just left. They just pressure wash the driveway, right? And they want you to come over and they want you to tell them how amazing their house is. Yes, ma'am, your house will sell more than any house in this neighborhood, right? When you go to probate, it's a totally different situation. Why? Well, the person was here and now they're not, right? Does anybody know when they're going to pass away? No, not really. If they did, we would have a whole system, right? There, nobody knows when they're going to pass away. So you're not prepared. The house is not prepared for sale, right? I had a family where it was this was the one that changed my heart, by the way, which was two boys and 19 and 20. Mom had left to go get something from the hospital and not get something from the hospital. She went because she had pains in her stomach. She went to go get it checked out at the hospital, and mom never came back. Okay. Do you think that was her intention? That wasn't her intention, right? So when I got to the house, the dishes were in the sink, the laundry was in the dryer, the mail's on the counter, the keys are hung up, like everything is just how she left it. Okay. So when you get to these, properties, the conditions of the properties can be very challenging. And really that's what really sets it apart. So, you may already be saying, okay, Carolyn, I know what the number one mistake is, right? And the number one mistake is that realtors are treating probate like a traditional listing. Okay, they're approaching the listing from the knowledge that they have of being a traditional realtor. I don't blame you because how would you know any different, right? We may see, oh, probate leads, they're really awesome. You got to get into probate, right? But if you're using a traditional approach, the way that you maybe did for sale by owners or you did, expired listings or cold calls, you're going to fail, right? Because this is a completely different process. Understanding the court process, the timelines, and really just not getting involved in the process, right? I've seen in real life examples where realtors have, gotten that call and, we're all excited to get that call, right? Oh, hey, yeah, my family member passed away and I need to sell the house, right? And you're thinking, woohoo, got a listing, let's do this, right? But they'll go and put the house on the market, and the executor, maybe the daughter of the deceased will say, yes, this is my dad's house. He passed away. I'm going to be selling it. And they get all the way, they find a buyer, they get all the way to closing. And then guess what happens? The title company says, wait a minute, you don't even have the legal right to be able to sell this property. This is actually a true story that we just had recently where they thought it was all buttoned up. It was a family realtor that got involved, put the house, got the buyer, got the title, no go, you got to open probate. When it went to probate, unfortunately, if you follow the news or if you're in Florida, okay, you know that the Florida real estate market has been a little tough, okay? And so in the process that it took them from beginning to end was about 5.5, 6 months. Not only did they have to pay all those expenses that they were not accounting for, okay, but they also had a dip in the market. So they ended up losing $75,000 because the realtor that they first came in contact with didn't have any wherewithal. They didn't have the knowledge of what probate means after what happens after somebody passes away, right? Another big real life example that I see is when the agents that I'm working with in teaching them cold calling, right? So agents I work with in cold calling, the most joy that I get is breaking them when they get through the you call somebody, hey, I was calling to find out if you might be thinking about selling your house. And what is the number one reason? I'd love to see it in the chat if anybody has heard this themselves, if they've actually tried calling probate leads. What is the number one thing that families say when you get them on the phone? They say, we don't know, we're unsure, right? We haven't decided yet. We don't know yet, right? And what happens is the typical traditional realtor, what would you say? What is your follow-up? Okay, ma'am, I understand. When is the best time I should call you back, right? That's the follow-up. You want to get a qualified nurture. You want to get a time when you're going to call them back and you're going to follow up with them. Well, in probate real estate, I teach that you got to dig into that I don't know, because that I don't know, or we're waiting for our attorney, or we haven't decided yet, or we're still discussing it. It's too early, right? Why are they saying that? Well, they're saying that because there's a lot of beneficiaries. They maybe haven't all discussed it yet. The house is full of stuff. Nobody's dealt with it, right? They're waiting on a call back from their attorney. They filed the paperwork, but they haven't heard anything else yet, right? These are the things that a probate realtor can really wedge themselves in and help move things forward. Okay. People are at loss, right? Like when these things happen, like from one day to the next, maybe you talk to your brothers and sisters like once a year at Thanksgiving, or hey bud, how you doing? But guess what? Your relationship goes from 0 to 100 real quick in probate, right? Because there's expenses that has to be paid. Who's paying for the mortgage? Who's paying for the light bill, right? There's a lot of moving parts in probate, and it's in the realtor's best interest to be able to wedge themselves into those problems and provide solutions for the family. Okay. So really getting a hold of this process, how can you avoid this, right? And that's why you're really here today, is you want to say, how can I get involved in this? How can I actually, be that wedge, Carolyn? How can I, help these families? How can I be different, right? Well, number one, you may seem the most basic, but learn the probate process in your state, okay? So now with ChatGPT, geez Louise, right? Like there's plenty of opportunity to learn. Now, I will tell you, ChatGPT, I have tested him a few times on some probate, and sometimes he's a little off, okay? So I wouldn't go 100% off of ChatGPT, but he can definitely point you to who are the best probate attorneys in your market, right? What I notice with probate attorneys is on their websites, they stack it with all the probate law, okay? And what's interesting when you go on this journey of learning the probate process, I will challenge you right now. Pull up 5 attorney websites, and I bet you they all say little different things here and there. Okay. And you may say, why is that, Carolyn? Why isn't the law all the way across? Well, every attorney has a different way of doing business, right? I talk to some attorneys and they do 30 plus probates a year, and then some attorneys only do 1 probate a year. Who do you think is going to know the loopholes? Who do you think is going to know the tricks? The guy that's doing 30 deals a year, right? So that was something that I learned on my journey. When I first got involved in this, I used to, I don't want to say talk negatively about probate attorneys, but I used to think like, oh, if the probate attorney said that, that's the law, like that's it. But then what I would happen to me is I would have 2 probate cases in the same county, almost same situation, and one probate attorney would tell me it's not possible, and the other probate attorney would tell me it's possible. And when that started happening, I started realizing, wow, there's other ways to do things. And that's just with anything, right? Like one realtor, if a family hires me as their realtor, guess what? They're going to get a very, very experienced process. Okay. They're going to really, get the royal treatment. Why? Because I've done so many transactions. I have so much experience. Whereas somebody that's never done probate before, it can be a totally different experience. So I would challenge everybody here. If you're here, it's because you want to learn about probate real estate. And that's the number one thing that you can go home right now and you can go research what is the probate process in your state. The next thing that I would recommend is building relationships with probate attorneys and vendors. Okay. So probate attorneys are just like us, guys. They're outgrowing their businesses. They're looking for more families to help. The funny thing about probate attorneys is they like dealing with the challenges. Now, some of them will tell you, well, I'll do probates, but I don't want to do the complicated ones. I don't want to do the messy ones. I don't really like those guys, right? I like to help families with complex problems. I like to help them because who else is going to help these people, right? Somebody needs to guide these families in these challenging situations. So go out there, build relationships with probate attorneys and vendors, right? Like people that are actually working alongside the probate process. Well, what does a lot of people do in probate after somebody dies? An estate sale, right? Talking with estate sale vendors, talking with clean out companies. What is your experience? What have you seen, right? And when you start doing this, not only are you going to get knowledge, but you're going to start building your own network, right? So when somebody says, hey, do you have a probate attorney? Yes, matter of fact, I do. Hey, do you have a clean out guy? Matter of fact, I do. Hey, you're going to need an estate sale. Oh, I have one of those, right? Start building out that network of attorneys and vendors. And number 3, honestly, is a big one for me, and that's lead with education, guys. Okay. Like I said, I'm a sales girl. I've always been a sales girl, but these families, they need the guidance, they need the education. They do not need a sales pitch. Okay, that is the last thing that they need. What they need is somebody that knows the process, that can guide them along, right? And listen, if there's any investors on here, I love you, okay? But investors are not leading with that, okay? They're leading with, we're gonna buy your house cash, we're gonna get you cash, ma'am. Yeah, they'll take care of the probate. Trust me, they will, okay? But they're not really trying to educate them. They're trying to use the problem that they have as a weight. So like when I meet with a family and the house is in disarray, right? I'm showing them the positives. I'm telling them, you know what? We could just paint that stain. We could fix this. We can remove that. When the investor comes in, he's like, oh, you see that stain? You're never going to be able to sell this house. This house can't get financing. There's no way, right? They beat them down and then they push them into a contract. So for me, what's really worked is just leading with education, leading people in the direction that they should go. And everybody, I mean, I get this compliment so many times, guys. They tell me, wow, you are so informative. I feel like literally, they tell me, I feel like I got more information from you than from my own probate attorney. Okay. Just because why? Because my experience, because the style that I choose to handle these families with. Okay. And then the step four is being comfortable with communicating with all the decision makers. So, in probate, it's not just the husband or the wife. I remember in traditional sales, they used to always make it like a really big thing that, like, if it was a husband and wife, like you would not book that appointment unless the husband and the wife were going to be there. Like that was like the cardinal sin, like when you're booking for sale by owners or expireds, in probate real estate, it's not always going to go down like that. You're typically going to be communicating with the executor or the personal representative of the estate, and then you'll offer to take kind of that off their plate and just say, because you'll just say that you're able to, do all of the coordinating and the communicating amongst the family. And sometimes that's a huge help for families, because sometimes you don't want to hear big brother telling little brother anything. Okay. So sometimes just that one tip alone can get you the deal sometimes, because that's why when you're on the phone with them and you're cold calling and they say, no, we're not ready yet, what they're really saying is, my brother, is not is not on board yet. That's what they're really saying. And sometimes they'll tell you, well, I want to sell, but my brother, he hasn't gotten on board yet. So when you become a probate realtor, you're basically the realtor for the family, right? You're the realtor for the estate. You're not just the realtor for the one person. So that third party communication really, really helps people, because like I said, it's the big brother, big sister syndrome. They would prefer when you step in as that third party and you're like, hi, I'm here to help with the real estate sales transaction. 9 times out of 10, that family's telling you, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called because my brother is not communicating at all, right? Like they always blame each other. So that's fine with me. I will be the bridge of communication between these families. So I want to open it up. I see some questions here in the chat. I am definitely a long-winded person. I can't believe we're live. Woohoo, we're doing it. I see David there. How you doing? All right, let's take some of these questions. Let me get a glass of water. So it says, mm, I'm from California. California is a big probate state, right? Found you on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. Started probates this year in May. I'm lost in creating a system to have great follow-up systems after the call, after I call them, and keeping connected with them as well. What advice can you give me? This is a huge one. This is a huge one. And this is definitely, you're doing probates if you're asking this question. Well, part of that, Nancy, is going to be about getting involved in their problems, right? So what happens in traditional real estate is, okay, are you ready to sell your house? No, Nancy, we're not ready right now. Okay, when should I call you back? Right? And that's the follow-up game that we play. But instead, challenge yourself to really say, what's going on with your probate attorney? How's it going with your beneficiaries? Have you guys already started cleaning out the house? Asking them a series of questions. For me, it was really hard to take off like that traditional sales hat and put on the probate hat. What I feel like in probate is like you're almost like a doctor, like you have to like dissect them. You're peeling them apart. People don't want to just, come out and just tell you, oh, this is all my drama. This is everything that I have. You have to really dig for it and you have to ask for it. And when you find the problems and you provide that solution, a lot of times that takes you right to the finish line. Okay. And then just, basic, lead follow up. which is, email drip campaigns, setting up tasks for yourself. Make sure you're calling them, make sure you're texting them. There are genuine times when families are not ready, but if you make that good impression, if you give them the value, if you provide the solutions and you stay in touch, 9 times out of 10, they're going to use you. Okay. Let's go on. In my market, if I can even get in contact with the PR, they have already been inundated with calls from wholesalers, flippers, but this is what I'm telling you guys. Realtors have a huge value in this market, okay? And these families deserve us, okay? They deserve an educated professional to guide them through the process, okay? They are very resistant and even hostile talking to me. How do I cut through the noise? I'm getting about 10 to 20 probate leads from foreclosures daily. Listen, David, you know me. I got the scripts, okay? So, you follow the script. You got to be confident. You be calm and collected, and you let them know, I totally understand you're getting inundated with calls. The reason for my call, and you got to just move forward, right? So it's really just more of a, cold calling, because this happens. Think about the people. Okay, you want to talk about inundated? Think about the people that are calling for sale by owners. Okay. It literally says right on the ad, no, do not call me if you're a realtor. And who are the calls that the guy's getting? Realtors. So it's really, that is just a scripting thing, that you got to learn how to work through and get through that first 30 seconds. But that should be a sign that they need you, David, okay? Because if only wholesalers, if flippers, all that stuff is inundating them, they want another solution, I promise you. Okay, here's another one. Most tell me they have an attorney and everything's taken care of. Exactly, of course. So, again, that goes back to scripting, okay? So that's a script correction right there, okay? So you just need to learn how to overcome that. You got to learn how to say, yes, sir, absolutely. I see you're working here with Tom Smith from, Jacksonville, Florida, that he's handling your probate case. I'm a real estate office that works with families that inherit property, and we handled the real estate portion of this transaction. Now, are you thinking about listing this home, or were you looking for a cash offer? Done. Next. I moved past it, right? So these are scripting things, right? That can be easily fixed. Here's another one. Some say they're not selling and have many heirs involved. Good. Yes. So, people lie. People lie, right? They lie. Of course they lie, right? So yeah, some people will tell you, no, I'm not selling. And then, probates, the thing that I love about probates is like you getting those 20 leads a week, David, 10 leads a week, like those leads literally will last you for years. Okay. Like, and people don't understand this about probate leads. Okay. So most families that, like, when you see the name, like deceased is Mr. Smith, and then Mrs. Smith passed away, that that's a husband and wife situation, right? And I always, when I make those calls, I always kind of like hold my breath a little bit, because I do feel kind of like sensitive for the person. Like, yes, that was your spouse that died, 9 times out of 10, those people aren't making any moves for about a year. Okay. Now, if you can build out the follow-up system, so Nancy brought up a good point. It's the follow-up, right? Like everybody's good on the, hey, you want to sell your house right now? Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'll be over there in a minute, right? It's the follow-up is where the magic is. So if you can build out that system to say, hey, this is a husband and wife that passed away. He said he's not selling. You know what? Make that your, in 7 months, I'm going to call that guy again, right? And he may have a different story. So if it's a house that you would be interested in doing business with, if it's a house that is in your market that you would like to keep tabs of, don't delete it. Put it for like a 6 month. Hey, I'm going to call them in 6 months and I'm going to see what's going on with it. And when you call them, you're not calling them about the probate anymore. You kind of like change identities. Okay. So you call them as just like a regular cold call. but you have dynamic information, don't you? Right? That a regular cold caller wouldn't have. You know that that man just lost his wife or that woman just lost her husband, and you say, hey, I was just calling to find out if you might be thinking about selling your house, just like a straight up cold call, you know? So yeah, you have to, you can, I don't fight people. I don't call people twice. Okay. Like you tell me no, no means no to me, and I move on. Right. So it's all about, how you want to move it. Let's see here. So new to probate and figuring out my own systems. You go, girl. How do you manage your leads and pipeline? Are you using a CRM? Yes. So when I first started off, I used Mojo. And Mojo is like your dialer and your CRM all in one. So if you're brand new, I would just tell you go with Mojo because and Mojo, I'm really proud of Mojo because they just keep upping their game, getting better and better. So Mojo has drip campaigns. Mojo, you can mail letters from. Mojo, you can do appointments. I always recommend that you record your calls, like when you're doing your phone consultations. So you can do that in Mojo. And then, just build everything through Mojo. You can do mass emails, you can email people. So I would definitely recommend Mojo. Okay. And so using your amazing script, thank you. Have 7 leads who want to sell. Perfect. Haven't asked for the appointment to meet them as of yet because they're not, because they're, I think it's saying not early in the process. Should I still ask for the appointment when they don't have letters of administration? I say yes, definitely, because you want to meet with these people as soon as possible so that you can build that rapport with them. And remember, the letters of administration, that's when you're taking it straight to the bank. Okay. But what's happening before that letter of administration, right? They've got to get the house ready for sale. They've got to clean the house out. They got to do an estate sale, right? I don't know about you in California, but over here in Florida, these attorneys be out to the beach, okay? So sometimes they, they just fall asleep at the wheel straight up, And so by you being involved with that family, by you having that consultation with that family, you can follow and monitor the case, and you can just be like, hey, and a lot of times I will get, listing agreements signed before, right? Just because say, hey, we're going to work with you in the property preparation stages of things, and the idea is you want to start working with them as soon as possible. If you're waiting until they're ready, you're using the traditional realtor model, okay? And so you want to transition from that and you want to get involved in their problems. You want to get involved in the process, okay? And that's how, guys, honestly, I'm able to charge, the last time I did, you could charge more for your listings, okay? I charge anywhere from 4, 5, and 6% just on the listing side. Why? Because we're working with the family. We're helping mediate for them. We're helping prepare their properties for sale. We're helping find them attorneys. We're getting involved in that process. And that value allows us to charge more for what we're offering in the marketplace. So not only do you get the deal, but you get paid more for the deal by getting involved in the process. Okay. So let me go ahead and give you guys all an invitation. I just want to say thank you so much. We have been hot and heavy in the Absolute Top Dollar training program. We have been developing agents in there. Everybody's doing listings, booking appointments, setting up deals. And I want to give you guys an invitation. If you're here, you're interested in probate real estate, okay? And so am I, all right? So if you're interested in taking it deeper and you want to get coaching and training from somebody that's in the streets doing deals every single day, we have an amazing program in school, okay? We do live cold calling there twice a week. And we do live training every single week where we literally go through from cold calling all the way down to closing the deal. okay? And everything in between. And there's a lot, right? The most thing that I see is everybody learning how to close these deals, learning how to book these appointments, seeing the realtors being able to break through those I'm not ready yet, or, call me back in 6 months, learning how to overcome those hesitations and get in the middle of those things, learning how to work more as a probate realtor, not a traditional realtor, okay? So I'm gonna put we're live everywhere here, okay? So I'm gonna see where I can put it, but if on Instagram, if you're interested, send me a DM that says probate. I'm gonna send you a link so that we can schedule a consultation together. I can learn more about your business and I can share with you how we can do probate deals together. There's actually two ways to get in our program now. One is through our mentorship with eXp Realty. So if you're with eXp, we have another option for you. But if you're open to possibly switching brokerages, you actually can have the amazing opportunity to join my team for free, okay, which is pretty incredible. And or there is a paid option that you can get involved and I can train you. You'll get lifetime access to my course and you'll work side by side with me. I'm out there doing deals. I'm working side by side with my co-callers and all the agents that we have in there currently. So I would love to extend that to you guys. And then also at the end of the month, I am hosting a webinar that I've been working on. And this is really going to give you from beginning to end, from cold calling to close, everything that you want to know about probates. Okay. And this is for people that are really serious, that want to take this as a career. They don't just want to do one or two probate deals. They want to actually master probate. Okay. So that's coming up. And if you just want to hang around and join the lives and check, hang out with me on YouTube, that's cool too. Okay. But I want to give everybody the opportunity to engage. So hold on, I'm getting my link here for the people that are on. I hope I'm on YouTube. I don't even know if this actually works. So, okay. So there's my link if you want to schedule a direct appointment with me and we'll discuss your goals and where you're at and, if it's a good fit for me to help you. And then this is also my direct link for the school program that you can check out. And there is an opportunity to join my actual team with Probate Absolute Top Dollar. You don't have to be local. We have agents from all over the country in there. So it's worldwide, basically. Anybody that wants to do probate real estate. And honestly, guys, I want to attract agents from every single state, okay? Probate real estate is not going away, guys. This is a huge opportunity for realtors. As people have already mentioned on this call, mostly it's just investors, right? And the investors are, why do they all talk about probate real estate? Oh, we get the best deals. Yeah, and you're, hate to say it, guys, but you're kind of screwing the families, And, I understand it. Hey, I'm an investor. I understand when a cash offer is necessary, when someone wants a cash offer. I get it. We do cash offers, but there's such thing as a fair market cash offer and not just beating somebody down. So people, the world needs us, guys. And real estate, we're in a very changing market right now, where, they already got rid of buyer's agent commission last year, not completely, but you know what I mean? And, we gotta have a position. We gotta have a niche, okay? And this is something that's not a trend. Okay, it's not like, woohoo, this is cool right now because interest rates are low. No, okay, this is a utility that we need in all of our communities, okay? It's just the facts of life, the birds and the bees. People are going to be passing away and people live in houses, okay? They have a bunch of family involved. The houses are full of stuff. The probate attorneys, like they need help, guys. So this is something that you can start making money, like literally people in the group that have started with me from one cold call to listing like that. Like it can go that fast, right? This is a niche that you can jump in and you can just start popping deals right away. but the cool part is that you can keep developing it and keep building it and really be known in your marketplace for it. Think about how different you are when you walk into a networking group or you walk into some place and people say, "Oh, Ro, what do you do?" And I say, "Oh, I do probate real estate." I guarantee you're the only realtor in the room that does probate real estate. Be different. We have to be different. And so if you're a realtor that likes helping people, that is not afraid to sometimes get your hands dirty, okay? And you want to make money and you want to build a career, because that's what happened for me, guys, is that I was doing traditional real estate, and you basically, in traditional real estate, you have to be almost like a movie star nowadays, okay? Like next thing you know, we're all dancing on TikTok, right? But even before social media and all that stuff was going on, to be a traditional realtor, to be the best, you had to be like the mayor of your town. Okay, on every bus bench, on the billboards, like that's how you dominated a market. And so for me, that's never really my style. I'm more of like, I want to help people. I'm ready to get on the ground with people. And probate real estate honestly was a godsend, because I get to help people and I get to make money at the same damn time. And for me, that's where I found my passion, and I'm going to be doing it for a long time. I'm here to stay. I probably got another good 10 years in me, okay, of helping people transition through, this life process of passing away and selling their properties. And I would love to partner with you guys, and I would love to work alongside you guys and do the same thing. Okay. So thank you a million bazillion for everybody that's here. And if you want to go ahead, sign up for to speak with me, I would love that. And either way, you'll see us around. Feel free to comment on YouTube. Drop a message on there. I'll reply to your comments, and I'm happy to see you guys win in probate real estate. Okay. So until the next one, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you.